live the life you love.
All right, we're live. I am excited to have my good friend and creative director and founder of Cowboy Bebop Live, trombonist extraordinaire, Mr. Corey Paul. Welcome to the brand new Making with Chris G show.
Oh, well, thanks for having me, my good friend Christopher. Mr. Chris G, happy to be here.
Yeah, well, so we'll get into how you started the Cowboy Bebop Live and all that. But before that, I'm sure there is a journey before that journey. That's kind of where I want to start. And I'm not going to go too much into the whole story. I guess we'll see how it goes. But I guess for starters, and it's kind of something I'm actually curious about. Like, how'd you start? Like, why jazz? I know you sent me a recording recently about the story of Cowboy Bebop Live, and it sounded like you started in jazz pretty early, and it's not maybe necessarily a genre that the mainstream would choose, unfortunately, because it's an amazing genre and a lot of great musicians in jazz. But yeah, why jazz? Like, what got you started there?
Well, what actually got me started, and it's even worse. It's worse than you would have ever imagined. I was into classical music growing up. My dad played trombone. My mom sang in a rock band, but I wanted to. When I was in middle school, 6th grade, they test you out on a bunch of different instruments, and I intentionally played every instrument badly on purpose, so that no matter how bad I sounded on trombone, they would make me play trombone. So my manipulative behavior started very young.
It's always been there.
Yeah. And so I ended up getting placed on trombone, and then they have this thing called solo and ensemble, which I took really seriously. I've always been super competitive, and they grade you. You go in, you prepare a solo, and with like a piano accompaniment, you hire a pianist. You got to pay someone. I was like $40. I can't afford this, and so I would I'd hire a piano accompanist, and then I'd go and I'd play my little trombone solo, and we would get rated. And I got more and more enticed by that, and then I started doing all county and all state, which is where you get pulled in to play with all of the better musicians from your area that are in high school. And then eventually I graduated high school and decided I wanted to major in classical music.
Okay.
Much to the chagrin of my parents, who had been so supportive up until that point. They were still extremely supportive, but they were like, "Are you sure this is what you've done well in school? You don't have to do this." And I was like, "No, I want to major in music." So at first, I was a double major in music and digital media, but it wasn't until halfway through college that I switched to a jazz degree and dropped my other major, which was digital media.
Got it. So choosing a program, like what goes into, like, what was your thought process in choosing a program? And now, because you went for classical and eventually changed to jazz, but knowing what you know today, if someone wanted to get into a jazz program, or they said they just want to get into a music program and they don't know yet if they want to do jazz or classical, like, what advice would you give someone in choosing a program to figure out like what's a good program, what's not?
Well, it's interesting because it really depends. And first thing right off the bat, I have to say this, or I'm doing you a disservice. Do not become a musician unless you don't want to do anything else, because it can be a huge challenge to make it in this industry. It's almost impossible. Almost nobody does, and even the people that do are not, for the amount of effort it takes to be successful. It's you're not going to get trillions of dollars for your efforts. So just make sure you really care about it. And then secondly, look at where there's a lot of good schools out there for different things. I went to UCF, which is not notoriously well known for a great music program, but it is in the heart of Orlando, which is one of the biggest scenes because of the theme park industry and the entertainment industry that we have here in Orlando. So you might not necessarily get the best education, quote unquote, but you, as a musician, you really make the most out of it. A lot of people come into music school with a deep understanding of how to play their instrument already, and you just kind of get guided along your journey. But UCF was great for me because it injected me directly into a thriving music scene, which gave me a lot of opportunity to make good connections and work. And if you're looking to immediately start working, then you don't need to look for an incredible college. And honestly, you don't even really need to graduate with a degree as long as you go long enough to make the connections. Now, if you choose to want to teach, especially at a collegiate level, you're going to need a master's degree for that. So it's just really what are you looking for? But if you want to, there's other areas like Jacksonville. UNF has a great program. Probably the best jazz program in the state is Miami Frost School of Music. It's probably the best one, and FSU has another great one. But none of those cities have as big of a music entertainment scene as Orlando does, which is why it's like really where do you want to fit yourself in?
I'm glad you mentioned that because it's not something that the average person would think about when you think about like big music scene where musicians can find a lot of work. People usually think the big cities, right? New York, Nashville, LA, maybe like a Chicago, maybe New Orleans, but New Orleans is not even a big city. But most people don't think of Orlando because of the theme parks, there is a ton of work for musicians. I know we've mentioned some of those stats on tour before. Do you know any those statistics, like how many working musicians there are and like how much work there is for musicians? There's some crazy things that people on tour throw around. I don't know if you know any of those facts.
I don't know numbers, and I know that Orlando used to be way, way, way bigger than it is now.
Really?
I get told stories of the late '80s, early '90s when I was not born yet, or one, where there were 400 full-time musicians working just at Disney World, which
Wow.
is like crazy because now you probably have 40. It's like a tenth of the amount of work just at Disney. But people keep getting married. So if you want to play weddings, this is a destination state. So Florida, not a bad place if you like playing September and 24 karat magic. Uptown Fun.
Even though there may not be as much full-time work though, like between as many gigs there are between all like the parks in Central Florida, is there enough work for a lot of musicians to just kind of gig around and play park to park and wedding to wedding and all that?
There is work. I mean, like I said before, there's it's a challenge to make it in this industry regardless. You have to be like step one is being able to play at a high level, but even more important probably is being a good person to work with. You're like, it's not a popularity competition per se, but if you show up late and you're an irresponsible person and you can't be relied on to show up on time for sound checks and you do that over and over again, you're going to stop getting called. It doesn't matter how well you play the shows. Can't be a diva. And then also the hang. I mean, the way I got integrated into the music scene here in Orlando is going out and playing at jam sessions and doing like what we call reading bands, which is where like a jazz band will get together with no plans of ever doing a show, and you just pass out good music and you guys just play through it for fun and hang out and then go grab drinks and food afterwards at Ale House or something. And that's a great way to, like, as a young musician that maybe just got to town or maybe just started school, to meet some of the good players, try to go out and do those jam sessions and get invited to these reading sessions. As you get older, you don't want to do those as much anymore because you get busy and tired.
Sure. What are all the different varieties of gigs and opportunities a musician in or like a place like Orlando would have? Like between the theme parks and the weddings, you mentioned those two. What else is there? Like where else can you find work?
There's corporate events. There's always going to be fun stuff too. Not to say playing weddings isn't fun. Not to say playing at theme parks isn't fun. Those are all fun in their own way. But I think most musicians get together to play. You don't go to school thinking I can't wait to play a set at Disney World. Normally, I mean, that might be a great end game. But normally, you think I love playing big band jazz or combo jazz or classical with an orchestra or in a rock band or something. No, it's usually more vague in general. And so there is that here as well. I won an audition into let me see if I can get this in the correct order. The jazz orchestra at Dr. Phillips Center.
Mm.
Yes, sorry. But and so you get to play. I got to play in a big band for a while with a lot of great musicians from Orlando and a lot of great musicians that I met from out of town. Because Rodney Whitaker, who is the head of the department at Michigan, is the one who organized and put that whole thing together at the beginning, along with Judson Green, who sadly passed away. But now they got the new small jazz club. It was originally going to be called the Green Room, which I loved. I loved that because Judson Green. But now they call it Judson's. But both are great. But the Green Room, I as a musician, I enjoy. I like puns. What do you want from me? But yeah. So there's always a variety of different things. But if you're trying to make a career for yourself, then you're going to have to make concessions to your craft. Unless you go into teaching, which could be a concession to some as well. Depends if you like teaching. But you're typically the most fun gigs you're going to do aren't going to pay the bills as well as the stuff you do to make a living.
Sure.
If that makes sense. But yeah, there's definitely plenty of ensembles to play and to itch that creative, scratch that creative itch.
Sure. When you say fun gigs, I know there's a lot of opportunities sometimes because I've had to hire musicians to where a touring band comes through, whether it's at the arena, Dr. Phillips Center, or where else, and they need local musicians. We've done that with Cowboy Bebop Live, where we had locals in certain cities. How do you find local musicians, and how does someone get those gigs? And what are some of the gigs? Share some of the gigs that you've had the opportunity to play on as well.
Well, it's definitely all word of mouth. It's people that it's these connections you've made and networking along the way. And the better your reputation on your instrument, showing up on time and doing a good job. There's a lot of bad decisions you can make while working. You got to treat it like a pro. But over the course of time, you're gonna build up a reputation in town. And then when someone's blowing in from out of town and they have a group and they're like, hey, I need a horn section, or I need a guitarist, or I need a singer, they're going to hit someone up and then they're going to recommend you. I've had plenty of times where I've needed to hire guys while I'm on the road doing the Cowboy Bebop thing with you. And so I have to ask people that I trust, hey, do you know anyone that plays this instrument around this area? I need someone that can come in and nail it. And so, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much how it's done. Some things that I've gotten to do that were pretty cool was, pretty much my entire resume is this one gig that I did for David Foster for the Disney Unforgettable Christmas Celebration on ABC in 2015, where I played with every famous person, Ariana Grande, Tori Kelly, Jason Derulo, Seal, Charlie Puth, Andy Grammer at the time was huge because he had several hits, and yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot of and then this incredible studio band that came in from all over the country, and the reason I got that gig was because I was friends with a saxophone player that I play with all the time, and they asked him, hey, do you know, can you book us guys for a horn section? And so I was one of the guys that he recommended, and I got to do that gig, and now the top half of my resume is this one show.
That's cool. So if you had to break down, right, so trying to focus on a lot of the educational piece and advice for people that were listening. So if you had to break it down, some factors that come into play in getting opportunities and getting gigs, it sounds like it's one, being good at your instrument, but also being professional is important, showing up on time, being professional during your sound check. But also the hang part is also important, right? Because if you have probably two musicians that are professional and are pretty competent at their instrument, it seems like the person, we always talk in the industry about being a good hang. And it seems like when people are referring you, it's important that the people are referring you actually like you too.
100%. It's probably more important than being able to play. Everyone is expected. No one's going to make it in this industry at all if you don't play your instrument well. You have to. You got to spend time practicing and being legitimately good. You can't think you're good. You have to be good.
Right.
And that's step one. And then Step two is yeah, you have to be prepared and show up. I mean, you can only screw up so many times before your reputation is completely shot. And it matters a lot more in this industry than in others, because not only is it more reputation based, but it's a lot easier to mess up on this job. This isn't a 9 to 5 where you do the same thing every day. You come into work and then you leave at 5. This is different every time. You have to keep track of your schedule. Calendars, you have to keep track of your calendar. If you don't know, if you think you have to show up at 2, but you show up at 2 and you were supposed to be there at noon, like that's a massive issue that you're going to struggle to live down. So there's just a lot of bookkeeping, like responsibilities of your own, checking your emails and your texts, and always staying on top of your stuff. Because if you don't, you're gonna, it's like only takes a few times, and then it takes a while to recover from just a couple mistakes.
Sure. Yeah. It's just like a band, right? On the commercial side, it's just like a band coming into a venue and they claim they're going to sell 200-300 tickets and come in and sell 50. It's going to take a long time to recover from that. It's going to take a long time before I take an opportunity to book you again if you don't deliver on that. Speaking of business stuff and being organized, I mean, being a gigging musician, like working, so you mentioned there's only 40 full-time musicians now at Disney. So obviously most of the musicians are just gigging, playing some shows at Disney, playing some at our theme parks, other opportunities. How does it all work with, like you mentioned, good bookkeeping? Like how does all that stuff work? Like the bookkeeping, the health insurance and all that. Like how does someone make sure they are good? Like we're going to get like a normal, I guess what most people would consider a normal job. What is it, W-2 W-2 job, and you're getting taxes taken out and you have health insurance and benefits. Like how does all that work for gigging musicians?
I pay for my own insurance. I pay for my own retirement plan. I have a Roth, which if you are a freelancer, I highly recommend. I hated you don't need health insurance. I got it because I'm in my 30s, and now I always hated it, but now it's helped this year because I broke my wrist. But if you want to get a gig as a musician that takes care of your health insurance and your retirement for you, you got to have a full-time job at like one of the theme parks or a full-time gig as a teacher. I mean, like a university or really, I guess any high school or middle school is probably going to hook you up with benefits too. But I don't get that. I don't really want to be full-time. Like I enjoy the sporadicness of doing different things all of the time. But it's kind of, that's one of the challenges. This is what I'm talking about. You're never going to make a zillion dollars. You got bills to pay.
Yeah,
that other people aren't paying as much. But you can join the union, and there is a pension fund in the union. So that's something. It doesn't get paid into unless you do jobs that pay into pension. Union jobs like random one-off things at Disney or a Disney related gig. But it has to be a gig that is associated with the union, that goes through the union, and then you get pension for that.
Which union is that for?
The local 389. Hold on. AFM.
Is that the AFM? Okay, so the American, was it?
Federation of Musicians.
Federation of Musicians. Yeah, okay, sounds good. I was curious because I know there's like all kinds of unions, and with Disney there is it's not SAG, it's the other union that they work with that has to do with actors, Equity. Was another union that the theme parks work with a lot.
Yeah, Actors Equity. Yeah, we're not Actors Equity. But I want it to be known that I did get the number correct. So I can look Sam Zambito in the eye next time.
You represent your local union well.
That would have been bad if I got the number wrong.
and if for anyone's listening, right, if you're interested in some resources, there's other things too. I mean, it's a scary part, like the health insurance part, and you mentioned the Roth IRA. That's super important, right? So that would be your equivalent of a 401k. You're just doing it yourself.
Yeah. And
then there's music, for touring musicians. There's all kinds of resources out there for someone that's interested. I've had a conversation way back when the podcast was around with an organization called Backline, and they actually are still around today. And they offer mental health services. There's alternatives to health insurance. If anybody has questions, feel free to reach out. I have got some resources. But let's get into Cowboy Bebop Live. So, what inspired you to start this show, and walk me through the journey of, I guess, coming up with the idea to actually doing your first live show?
Cowboy Bebop. What is this?
What is Cowboy Bebop Live?
Yeah, I've never heard of it.
I think you got on your shirt.
Yeah, oh, I don't know where I got this.
I almost wore the same shirt, but I was like, I have a feeling Corey's going to wear this similar.
Yeah, I got to rep the brand. All right. So the question is, when did I get my first? When I first decided to put this together?
Yeah, like what was the inspiration to starting this project? And then,
all right, a story I'm very familiar with telling.
Yes,
yes.
I may have asked you to recite the story a few times.
Yeah, I got this. All right. So I was a huge anime fan growing up. Middle school, I watched a lot of Toonami, and anyone who's into any millennial that knows anime knows Toonami. Cartoon Network. I'd come home, I'd turn on the TV, and I'd watch Dragon Ball Z. And in the commercial breaks, they had this guy that hosts Toonami throughout the whole segment. You have Tom the robot. He was a CG robot, and he'd come on the commercial breaks and he'd tell you what was coming up next and later in the afternoon. And he'd say, coming up next, we got Cowboy Bebop. And then I would hear the theme song. And I was just getting into jazz band at the time. I went to a transitional middle to high school. It was a middle school when I went there, but I was the third graduating class at my high school because they kept adding a grade each year. And so it was a middle and high school, 7th to 12th grade by the time I graduated. And so I had just gotten into jazz band because they were starting one. They didn't have one at the middle school originally, but because they were becoming a high school, they added a jazz band. And so I got to join jazz band early in like 8th, 9th grade. And I went on Google at my house and I Googled Cowboy Bebop theme song, and I found out it was called Tank. And then I listened to the whole soundtrack because I was like, this is awesome. And I just started getting into jazz. My dad had given me some vinyls of Maynard Ferguson, and I was like, high note trumpet, that's crazy. And so I started playing way too high on trombone and regretting my decision of playing trumpet badly on purpose when I was younger. And so I looked up some sheet music online, and I printed it out and I brought it to my high school band director, and I said, please, Mrs. Lowe, can we try this out? She said, of course, no problem. And so we tried, but we were a very young jazz band, and it did not go great, especially because the other chart I brought was Rush, which is very fast and much harder than Tank. And so I didn't get to perform it because it didn't sound good. And so I eventually graduated from high school. And when I decided to major in jazz, after a little while, I brought those same charts to my professor that ran the big band there. And I asked him if we could play it. And he told me, I'll put this nicely, he said it didn't fit the curriculum. And I said, okay, no problem. I guess not. And so I didn't get to do it there either. And so I did everything I just talked about. I went out to these jam sessions and played in these reading bands. I did all of these freelance gigs. And by the time I was a senior, I was working quite a bit. And I knew a ton of people around the scene in Orlando. And that was great for a long time. I had a lot of fun, and I did a lot of different things. And then COVID-19 happened, and I had a lot of free time on my hands out of nowhere, and I didn't know what to do with myself. So I started coming up with all these different projects to keep myself busy. I was writing a lot. I'd always written a lot of music. I liked transcribing, and I liked arranging. And if you don't know, transcribing is when you listen to a recording over and over again, and you write the sheet music out by listening. And then arranging is when you take someone else's, like an existing song, and then you create your own version of that. You can rewrite it to fit a different instrumentation or make it sound a little different, whatever you want to do. That's called an arrangement. And so I spent a ton of time transcribing all of the music from Cowboy Bebop, so that once everything came back to life again, I could put a show together. And so I did that. In 2022, I found a venue called the Geek Easy about a mile away from my house, and it was awesome. It had you walk through this brightly lit comic book shop and open a back door, and you're in this dingy dive bar, dark. Han Solo frozen in carbonite behind the bar, Goku arm wrestling, Superman silhouetted on the wall with Pokemon all over the place. It was awesome. It was the perfect spot. I love going there. Yeah, I'm a huge nerd, weeb, otaku, whatever you want to call it. I was it was a good spot for me to hang out. So I talked to the owner. I said, hey, I'd like to do a show here. They had this little stage, and we jammed 14 people on that stage. And I told the guys in the band, hey, we might outnumber the audience. I don't know who still cares about this old anime. And they opened up the doors, and like, this place is packed. It's like 300 people in this tiny spot. It was shoulder to shoulder. Awesome vibe. And at the time, it was just this little project that I put together for fun. We had a screen, but it didn't tell the story like it does now, because now it's like an abridged version of the entire series. And the music flows from one scene to the next, and it's kind of all synced to what you're watching. And it's much more well thought out at this point. But back then, we were showing scenes on screen that might be reminiscent of whatever the song we're playing is. And after that, I was like, let's make it better. And we did. We started growing it, and I worked out how that abridged version of the show was going to work. And we started booking bigger shows, and eventually, as you know, I needed a management team because it got too big for me. So I brought Johnny Morgan first on board to help me with this, and then he got you, and you guys, and that's where our budding friendship began. And the first thing, remember the first thing I asked you?
What was the first thing?
I said, hey, can you make sure I'm not going to go to jail for the rest of my life?
Yeah.
So I had you guys reach out, and then we got partnered up with Bondi and Crunchyroll to put this show on and tour all over the place. And, that took a while, but the gears turn slowly on these types of things, especially when there's a language barrier and I don't know how many thousands of miles between here and Japan, but yeah. And then Live Nation picked us up thanks to your connections with Kelly is her name, right?
Yep, Kelly Cat.
Yep,
who's also been on the podcast.
Cool. Get her on here. I want to thank her.
Get her back.
All right. Well, yeah. So anyway, that's the long and short of it. And then we did like
gazillion shows.
Yeah, so many shows. We did 40 dates in the past 2 months.
That was a lot.
That was a lot.
So going back real quick, I know on stage a lot you said, or maybe not on stage, but you said that to people after a show. After a show, you usually said this, but anime fans can be very critical, right? So putting the show together, you were very careful with putting this together because you wanted to be very mindful of the audience and making sure the audience would really enjoy this. I don't know if this was intentional when you did this. So not only did you put together a show that people really loved, but what I always liked to say about the show, and I always describe it, is it's great for the hardcore fan because you can watch your favorite anime with a live band and an experience. Really, I call it more of an experience, right? So we always make fun of the orchestras that'll play the music to a movie while the movie's playing. This is very different. Like, this is a whole experience because there's other cool things that happen throughout the show. But I always describe it as it can be either great for the hardcore fan to see their favorite anime and experience fun surprises in a 90-minute show, or someone's going to bring their friend along that has never seen the anime or a loved one or something like that. Mom. And they've never seen it, and they will now see this show with their significant other, friend, family member, and also understand what's going on. Like, because the way you've put it together, like the non-fan, the one that's never even heard of it before, kind of can understand the storyline. So it's a great way to even introduce people to the anime and now get them interested. Like, my parents want to watch it. My parents never even heard the word anime before, and then now they want to watch the show. Was
Yeah,
that intentional? Was that by design, or was it mostly just focused on the hardcore fan?
it was sort of by design. I wanted to make sure that if you had not seen it before, you could follow along well enough. But this show is mostly a musical tribute to Cowboy Bebop that follows along the most nostalgic and important moments for the mega fan. So you can see how it's kind of both. It's because
Mhm.
like you're not going to have the nostalgia factor if you're brand new to it. But
Right.
I knew that every nostalgic moment, like most of them, we try to make sure we capture that
Mhm.
in the show. And so yeah, I'm proud of where it's at. I mean, it changed a lot, like from the first iteration to how it is now. Now I'm comfortable with where it is, but I'm sure there's tons of more alterations we could make to it to make it even better. But yeah, I'm glad people like it so much. Like you mentioned, anime fans are particular when you touch their stuff. It's their art. It's like their
Mhm.
favorite thing, and you don't touch their stuff. You know,
Right.
we have all these live action adaptations popping up on Netflix and different streaming services of animes, and they change it like a lot. Like
Mhm.
they change so much, and people hate that. I think One Piece did a great job, but there's a lot of hate for many of these live action adaptations because too much is different from the original. And I mean, I'm one of those fans. I understand where that's coming from. And if I was going to put together something that touches the art, I wanted to make sure I didn't change it. I just enhanced it, you know?
Mhm. Mhm. Yep.
And so I feel good about it.
What was your besides the licensing stuff? What was your, I guess, biggest fear in putting this together? I mean, was and putting it on the road and taking it outside of Florida and outside of your home hub of Central Florida?
Other than before we got partnered up,
Yep.
uh,
Many fears there.
yeah, a million fears. My biggest fear was that I never was into the idea of touring. I like doing one-off little things, but being on the road um for months at a time was never something I thought I would enjoy.
Mhm.
Kind of the same reason I said I would never want to have like a full-time gig.
Mhm.
I kind of like this sporadic lifestyle that I have where but I think it's maybe because it was my baby and my project that
Mhm.
I put together, but I loved going on tour. It was very fun. I never got tired of playing the show. I mean, it's like high octane jazz. None of the music ever gets boring to play, even the 200th time I've played it, which I think I've performed Tank I don't know how many times. No, man. But yeah, I never get the audience's energy is always super high.
Mhm.
Um, there's a lot of factors that go into it, but yeah, I was mostly worried about touring, and those fears melted away very quickly.
What were some of the fears that you had going into it? And yeah, we'll start there, and then we'll get into some advice for new touring musicians.
Yeah, I just yeah, I didn't like the idea of not being able to go and do my own thing on a day where I wanted to go and do it, you know.
Mhm.
Especially there was a lot of opportunity for me early on to go and be a cruise ship musician,
Mhm.
and I think I would. I know a lot of guys who have done it. I just don't think I could survive that lifestyle at all. But I mean, I love going on cruises, very fun as a passenger, but being stuck in a confined space for 6 months of the year sounds brutal. But you know, to each their own.
Sure, sure.
I don't want to be a professor either, but a lot of people are very
What's
you're
wrong with
very reward
that?
you get very rewarded by teaching students. So I can see people, you know, different strokes for different folks.
So now that you've been on the road, I mean, this what's happening these days in the commercial world, and most of the people that are probably going to be listening to the podcast or on the Patreon, right? A lot of them are, I guess, the formula these days. So the formula back in the day is just go tour a bunch and build up one fan at a time. Where these days the formula is create as much content. Well, at least if they follow the formula. So the formula is, for anyone that's listening, create as much content as you can. try to have a few viral moments, not one, but a few viral moments, and go tour, right? And tour markets where you're having the viral moments in. But the problem that many musicians run into these days, or influencers and people that are touring, is they've never been on the road before. And they think it's fun and exciting and easy. And it's not easy to be on the road.
No.
And it's one thing. Like, we started with weekend warrior runs. So weekend warrior run is, for those listening, is like when you're playing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, maybe Thursday through Sunday. But eventually we started doing 2-week runs, and then that turned into really long runs. I think the fall run was probably about 6 or 7 weeks, and then the spring run this year was probably the longest one yet, 9 weeks. And that's even in a grand scheme of things. I mean, thinking about major artists, I mean, some of those artists are on the road for months. So what's, I guess, some of the different challenges from touring just weekend versus like being on the road for 8-9 weeks? And what advice would you give to someone that is about to go on their first tour?
Great question. I think that it becomes routine on these longer tours. I had some time to warm up to it with these weekend warrior tours that you're talking about. My biggest concern switched after doing those first few, from being, how am I going to be able to handle the road, to how is my band going to be able to handle the road? Because not everyone is as built for it as other people are. And as someone that's like a boss, as a leader running everything, you kind of have to try and keep everybody happy. So that became my biggest worry eventually. My advice would be to don't worry too much the first couple weeks. If you're going out for a long one, it will become easier and routine eventually. Take advantage of your free time. And there's 2 ways to do that. Go and do fun. If you're an extrovert like I am, go out and do fun things. Find the cool thing to do in that area. Go sightseeing if you like to do that. You can do what I do, which is constantly trying to find the nearest casino to every venue you play at on an off day, and go there. But you need to also, if you've done 5 shows in 5 days, it's probably a good idea on your off day to just don't hit it too hard. Just like relax. You're gonna need some sleep. But yeah, it's that first week and a half when you're getting used to it that can be a challenge, but it gets routine and easy eventually. Not easy, but easier.
Sure. And everyone, right? So being on tour, being on close quarters with people, and not really being able to get a lot of privacy because you're in vans together, you're in, even on bus tours, you're on a bus together the entire time, sharing hotel rooms and all that. I always say everyone's gonna have a moment. Everyone's gonna have a moment where they just lose it, and they lose their patience, and they get frustrated, they're angry. What advice would you give to someone like dealing with that? Like, as your band members, right, the people that you care about are going through that, and even your crew members, like, what advice would you give to someone, like, how to handle those situations?
Try to be patient. We're all different. And it's funny, you can tell the people that handle being around others a lot for an extended period of time and traveling every day, the ones that are good at that versus the ones that are not. And if you're one of the people that are good at that, I would implore you to be patient with the ones that are not, and do what you can to help, and not ostracize them too much for when they're having a bad day, because you guys are stuck on the road together, and it's going to be a lot better for you and for them and for everyone if you don't pick fights unnecessarily. You can talk crap maybe to your closest road buddy behind closed doors to let some steam out sometimes and vent. But yeah, just remember that you're working hard to, this is my experience, you're working hard to keep everyone happy. Now, if you're one of the people that is struggling, I mean, there's one, maybe you want to rethink this lifestyle. But 2, just keep in mind, this isn't forever, and you're on the road with other people. Try not to make their lives miserable, because your energy is going to affect everyone else's energy.
Sure, 100%. What about as far as some things that people don't think about, right? Like the logistical parts of touring. Like any advice you have on the logistical stuff, or vehicles they need, trailers, hotel rooms, and all that. How can
I
they
think
do
it's
the job?
very specific
Mhm.
to like what is the plan. Like with our thing, we had kind of a larger team. We had 13 people on this 9-week run. 10 of
Mhm.
them were band, but I had one guy that was basically staff and band doing everything, Josh, who would, wake up, drive, unload, run monitors, play the show, pack up, drive, like,
Mhm.
and
Of
just do this for days on end. Yeah, an absolute workhorse. And uh, if there are some people that are on the road that you need that are like that, and anything that you can do, if you're one of those people that is doing okay, I just don't forget that there's a lot of people working very hard, and maybe you're not getting paid the amount that you think you deserve to be getting paid, but they probably aren't either. And once again, this is maybe something to reconsider if you don't like it.
Right.
You don't have to be there. You can do
Right.
something else with your life. But it goes so far to help people unload their luggage from the trailer when you're trekking into a hotel, or to move a box and like or help set up like something on stage for someone else who normally, that might be in their job description, but you do that and you save them time. Not everyone is like, some people will tell you, no, I got it. I want to do it myself. It's my job. But if you find like one or two things that aren't necessarily for you to do, you're going to be making a huge difference on the road, by helping out in that way.
Yeah. Especially if you're on the crew side, right? If you're the production manager, stage manager, tour manager, whatever, like thinking of the little things to make things a little easier on everyone else. Those are the way to stand out. Like if you want someone to refer you for a tour, like, hey, I need a tour manager, I need a production manager, production assistant, stage manager. Like, what are the things that stand out? It's doing those little things, but being proactive and not maybe standing around waiting to be told to do something. It's being proactive and finding things to do to help make the band's life easier. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, pack up the rider. Pack up the hospitality from the rider
Mhm.
at the end of the show. Put it in a box or like a cooler or something. Bring it out and clean up the green room. Everyone will love you. You will help morale tremendously if you do that every show. You will be everyone's favorite person.
Yeah. All right. A couple of quick fun questions, and then we'll go to the Patreon portion. But what
Okay.
was your favorite venue? This is gonna be tough. Someone's gonna be upset. But what was your favorite venue on tour? Not your favorite city. We love every city and every fan. But what was your favorite venue?
My favorite
We're grateful for
venue
every venue too.
ever from all of the tours or from this
Yeah.
last
From the all the Cowboy Bebop tours.
one? I was really which venue was beautiful? I'll say my on a grand scheme giant theater level, um the Dominion Energy Center in Richmond was awesome.
Yeah.
I really like that one. Arguably, I mean, it was a great show, but that venue was massive. But I like that one. And then for more, because we kind of go both ways on our shows. We got some dive bar spots.
True.
Of course, the Geek Easy will always hold a special place in my heart. But my favorite dive bar that we have played at, that one's tougher because there's been some good ones.
We'll call it clubs, not dive bars.
Okay, clubs. This
Corey's fancies and playing all these nice theaters all over the country, right?
standing room
Like
bar
standing room
venues.
venues, standing room clubs.
All right. Standing room bar venues. I really loved the area that Toads was in on this recent one.
Mm.
Um,
New Haven, Connecticut.
yes, with that's Yale, right?
Is Yale over there? I'm not sure.
I think, yeah, I think it is. I'm pretty sure. It was Yale or Duke or Harvard. It was one of those. I don't know.
Wasn't
They're all
Duke
over
at
the place. Okay, then it was Yale. It was Yale. This goes to show you just how integrated into the schooling system I am.
Cool. All right. It's a question you ask people all the time, but I've heard many people answer it. I don't think I've ever heard you answer it, but what is your favorite Cowboy Bebop song?
My favorite Cowboy Bebop song
To play.
to play. All right, that means I have to play on it. I love Bad Dog No Biscuits. I mean, a lot of people say that one, but I have a good reason to love it so much because I get to make tractor noises, which is one of my specialties.
Your big moment.
I've been listening to a lot of John Deere tractors for that solo.
What is one of your favorite moments, or some of your favorite moments from this whole experience so far?
I mean, there's so many. The roar of the crowd in Chicago when Wendy Lee walked on stage for the first time. That was a memorable moment for me. I was just like, yes, we've done it. Obviously, Bo at when he came up on stage in MomoCon was also really cool. I love working with the people that are associated with the project, and Raj has been a great addition. One of the musicians from the original recordings and co-writer. That getting to work with all of them has been amazing. But yeah, I think it's each time we, you know what it really is? It's when I'm not on stage and I stand in the wings and I watch the band. Mm-hmm. Whenever it's a song I don't play on and I get to just watch the show and I get to watch people enjoying this thing we all made together. Mm-hmm. That's my favorite. That's my favorite thing.
Yeah, it's pretty good one. What about as a fan, right? Let's put this together, and you've had this dream for so long to put this show together, and now it's finally on the road. And when you know, speaking of Chicago, when Wendy first walked on stage, what was it like to actually meet Wendy and have? And so, for those that don't know, Wendy is the voice actress for a character named Faye Valentine, who's one of the main characters of the whole show. She's the English voice actress, and we invited her to come to Chicago. She wanted to play LA, and we're like, hey, we're about to kick off our tour. How about you come to Chicago next week? And miraculously, it worked out. But what was that like? Like, you know, after all these years putting that together, being a fan of the music, seeing the anime several times, putting this tribute or this experience together to not just the, you know, as you always say, the storytelling of the Watanabe, the creator of Cowboy Bebop, but also the music of Yoko Kanno. What was that like to meet Wendy and have her a part of the show?
I know you know this because you were there, but when you told me that Wendy had reached out to us to be a part of the show in some way, I freaked out. I was like, no way. I mean, we had worked with Bo at the time, but Bo, it was like me asking the guy in charge of MomoCon if they could, you know, and WasabiCon for the first time we worked with them. Yeah, I was like, can you get him? You know, but this being Wendy, who I was told doesn't do a lot of cons, like doesn't do many, you know, it was a big deal for her to be at a convention. And the fact that she reached out to us to come do something with us, I was floored that it wasn't the other way around. But anyway, it was amazing. My little middle school fanboy heart filled up, and yeah, hanging out with Wendy, she's hilarious.
Yeah,
everyone from the cast that I've met has such a big, beautiful personality.
My favorite part is watching the two of your chemistry between you and Wendy. That's always been fun to see.
Well,
I wish we captured more of that.
Spend 20 hours on the road with someone, you'll love or hate each other.
Well, this was a good relationship. All right, so what we'll do for the Patreon portion, for those of you who are watching, I want to talk to Corey about the theme park world, about how to get into that world and how to get your first gigs and the networking portion for that. But one of Corey and my favorite thing to talk about, which we talk a lot about in the Making Academy, is deals. We're not going to get into specific deals for Cowboy Bebop, but what is a deal that is good for a touring project? Is it a guarantee? Is it a versus deal? Is it just renting your own venue? Corey and I have had lots of conversations about that, and so we'll get into that a little bit. But Other than that, thank you all for watching. Thanks, Corey, for being part of the podcast. And we'll see the Patreon people on the other side.
Thanks for having me, Chris. See you, Space Cowboys.
Live the life you love.